We envision future cities, but instead we've constructed concrete traps. In this video, explore how overpopulation and the relentless growth of urbanization are spiraling toward catastrophic outcomes. Welcome to Baby Eagle, your gateway to urban chaos. Homeless crisis in Los Angeles. In 2023, the number of homeless individuals in Los Angeles County reached an alarming 75,518. It's becoming harder to ignore this issue, not just because of the visible tents and trash in the streets, but also due to the rising crime rates in these neighborhoods. Unfortunately, this scenario can also be seen in other U.S. cities. The growing divide between the rich and the poor contributes to a deteriorating social climate, significantly hindering urban development. Social welfare costs are rising, and reintegration programs are failing to foster job growth. Luxury car graveyards in the UAE. Luxury car graveyards aren't rare in the United Arab Emirates, especially in Sharjah, where you'll find a massive collection of abandoned Rolls-Royce, Mercedes-Benz, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Bentleys, and many more. Some owners, faced with financial difficulties or unpaid taxes, were forced to leave the country and abandon their cars. Others simply discard their vehicles after accidents, believing they lose prestige. What do you think about this attitude towards resources? Traffic nightmares in Lagos. The streets of Lagos, Nigeria, are chaotic, with traffic jams that can trap cars for hours. A simple 10 kilometers journey can take anywhere from 2 to 5 hours, and it's no surprise when you consider Lagos's population of over 20 million people. The infrastructure simply can't keep up. To ease the traffic, the city developed water transport, and an entire neighborhood, Makoko, was built on stilts over the water. Unfortunately, the residents dispose of their trash directly into the water and use it for their daily needs since there's no sewage system. Makoko isn't even officially recognized by the authorities, which makes it unworthy of any assistance. The Mountain of Trash in Ghazipur. Ghazipur, known as the Everest of Garbage, is a giant landfill in India's capital, covering over 40 acres. The trash mountain reaches heights of over 70 meters, growing by 10 meters every year. Every day, 2,000 tons of waste from across New Delhi are dumped here, and as the population grows, the problem worsens. It's one of the worst examples of waste management failure in India. Overcrowded trains in Japan. In some subway stations in Japan, passenger traffic reaches millions of people daily. During rush hours, trains are so packed that people often can't fit inside. In cities like Tokyo, there are special workers, called Oya, who push passengers into overcrowded trains. It's no surprise that passengers are packed so tightly that personal space disappears. But for millions of city dwellers, this is a daily reality, inevitably affecting their stress levels and overall psychological well-being. The world's largest slum, Dharavi, India. Dharavi, the largest slum in the world, is located in Mumbai, India. With a population of around 1 million people living in an area of just 2.1 square kilometers, the residents face extreme poverty. There's no sewage system, and approximately 1,000 people share each bathroom. Despite the lack of basic infrastructure, the people here manage to engage in pottery and sewing. What was meant to be an environmental initiative turned into a disaster filled with rusted metal piles. The bicycle graveyard in China. This is a bicycle cemetery in China, a clear symbol of overproduction and the collapse of bike-sharing services. Companies invested billions to create hundreds of thousands of bikes, but demand fell far below expectations. As a result, the streets of cities were flooded with unnecessary vehicles, and bike parking spaces were exhausted. The Chinese authorities confiscated thousands of bikes that were improperly parked around the city. Some bike companies simply abandoned them in vacant lots because proper disposal was too expensive. The Monster Building in Hong Kong. The Monster Building is the largest residential complex in Hong Kong, housing up to 10,000 residents. Each of the 5 blocks contains over 2,000 apartments, making it so vast that some residents are afraid of getting lost. The city suffers from overcrowding and a severe lack of land, and these buildings often serve as refuges for the less fortunate, forcing them to live in 5 to 7 square meter spaces. But what will humanity do when even this space runs out? After all, this trend of reducing personal space to increase the number of apartments is spreading to other regions. The garbage cities of Manchit Nasir. At the foot of the Mokata Hills in Cairo, Egypt, lies Manchit Nasir, a district known as the City of Trash. Life in this neighborhood revolves around recycling waste, which is scattered everywhere. Most families have worked with waste for generations. Every day, 9,000 tons of waste are brought to this area from all over Cairo and separated manually. The unsanitary conditions and lack of basic sanitation make this area a breeding ground for disease. Train crowding in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, there are very few railway routes to carry large numbers of people, especially in rural areas where trains are the primary and most affordable mode of transport. People sit, stand, and even sleep on the roofs of trains despite the dangers. Delhi's pollution crisis. In 2019, Delhi was ranked as the most polluted city in the world due to its severe air quality issues. The air was heavily contaminated by exhaust fumes from countless vehicles, burning of garbage, and toxic emissions from nearby factories. The thick smog made it difficult for residents to breathe, causing serious health problems such as respiratory issues and heart diseases. The pollution not only affected daily life, but also contributed to the deterioration of the environment. Despite efforts to reduce pollution, Delhi continued to face a major crisis, highlighting the urgent need for more effective solutions to improve air quality. Traffic woes in Vietnam. Cities like Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam are experiencing a massive urbanization boom. Narrow streets and lack of regulations, compounded by insufficient traffic laws, lead to horrific traffic jams that can trap residents for hours. This doesn't seem like what humanity envisioned when cars and motorcycles were invented, does it? The air pollution crisis in Lahore, Pakistan. In recent years, air pollution levels in Lahore, Pakistan's second-largest city, have reached critical levels, especially in the winter. Residents are forced to wear masks and stay indoors during the most intense smog periods. As factories continue to grow and the internal combustion engine dominates, we've approached an environmental catastrophe that is already a reality for many. Amsterdam's bicycle problem. Amsterdam, with its canals and narrow streets, has an overwhelming number of bicycles, around 880,000 to 1 million, which is about 20% more than the city's population. The city's maintenance services recover 15,000 bikes from the canals every year, a standard practice due to the overflow of bikes clogging the waterways. China's Tianjin, a replica of Paris. Tianjin, a city in China, is home to an exact replica of Paris, complete with replicas of iconic landmarks such as the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe. Designed to attract tourists with its resemblance to the French capital, the area draws visitors hoping to experience the charm of Paris without leaving China. However, despite its stunning architecture, Tianjin's Paris remains almost empty of real residents, which gives the place an artificial and hollow feel. The lack of an authentic Parisian atmosphere, combined with the absence of a true local community, leaves tourists with a sense of emptiness, making the experience far from the vibrant, bustling environment of Paris itself. The tiny town of Whittier, Alaska. Whittier, Alaska, is a tiny town where almost all of its 200 residents live in a single 14-story building that was originally constructed as a military barracks in 1956. The building houses everything the residents could need, including a police station, a clinic, a church, and even a laundromat. This is likely the most extreme example of compact urban planning. Rapid infrastructure development in Naples, Italy. The rapid development of infrastructure in Naples, Italy, has not spared the residents of the area. The Capodestino viaduct connects the city to the airport and major highways, with thousands of cars, trucks, and buses generating noise pollution every day. During peak hours, the noise level can reach up to 90 to 100 decibels, equivalent to the sound of a jackhammer. The vibrations from these vehicles also damage the building structures. The high-density living complex in St. Petersburg, Russia. This residential complex in St. Petersburg, Russia, is an example of metropolitan urbanization, with 35 entrances, 25 floors, and 3,708 apartments. With so many people living in such close proximity, issues like traffic congestion, limited parking, and the overuse of public transportation are inevitable. Waste management issues in Durban, South Africa. The 2022 floods in Durban, South Africa, severely disrupted waste collection. With the streets flooded, garbage trucks couldn't access the bins, leaving 8,000 containers overflowing. Some of the waste ended up in bodies of water, further exacerbating pollution and the spread of disease. The urban heat island effect. In many megacities, the urban heat island effect is becoming a major issue. The combination of concrete, asphalt, and industrialization causes temperatures to rise significantly. This puts added pressure on the energy system due to increased air conditioning use and raises the risk of heat-related illnesses. Garbage strikes in London. In 2023, the garbage collectors in Bethnal Green Road, London, went on strike due to poor working conditions. The result was a significant delay in waste collection, causing the area to quickly become a huge dump. The accumulated trash had to be removed by local businesses that couldn't ignore the mess any longer. The ghost town of Burj Al Babas, Turkey. Burj Al Babas, a development project in Turkey, was supposed to be a symbol of modern urbanization, but it has become a ghost town. Due to economic crises and inflation, the project failed to secure enough funding, leaving many homes incomplete. The high property prices also failed to attract residents. Caracas slums and poverty. In Caracas, Venezuela, the slums continue to grow, leading to rising poverty and crime rates. Many people from all over Venezuela and even neighboring countries come to Caracas seeking a better life. However, they end up living in overcrowded and illegal neighborhoods with no access to basic amenities like water and electricity. Noise pollution from London's Heathrow Airport. In London's Antel Avenue, residents live extremely close to Heathrow Airport, making the area one of the noisiest in the city. The expansion project of the airport, which includes adding a third runway, has raised concerns about worsening air and noise pollution for nearby residents. Shibuya Crossing in Tokyo. Shibuya Crossing in Tokyo is one of the busiest intersections in the world. Thousands of people pass through this crossroads daily, where commerce, fashion, and nightlife thrive. Despite the traffic density, Japanese pedestrians obey the traffic laws, maintaining order even in such chaotic conditions. The growing problem of micro-apartments. As housing prices continue to rise, micro-apartments have become the only affordable option for many people, especially low-income families and students. It's a rare find when such apartments have at least a window, and some residents live in spaces as small as 7 square meters with no natural light. The pollution of the Citarum River in Indonesia. The Citarum River in Indonesia, running through Java Island and supplying water to over 25 million people, has become a toxic waste dump. Over 2,000 factories discharge untreated chemicals such as mercury, lead, cadmium, and chromium into the river. The local population is left to suffer from the polluted water. Struggles of informal settlements in Rio de Janeiro. In Rio de Janeiro, the contrast between wealthy high-rise buildings and poor favelas is stark. These informal settlements are often uncontrolled by the government, leading to dangerous, overcrowded, and poorly constructed homes. The lack of sanitation and increasing crime make these areas very difficult to live in. Extreme urban planning in China's rooftop village. In China, a unique village built on the rooftops of a high-rise building exemplifies an extreme response to the country's ongoing issue of limited space in overcrowded cities. Known as a rooftop village, it is a creative, though controversial solution to the growing demand for living space amid increasing population density. Residents have constructed makeshift homes on top of the building, often without the approval of city authorities, turning the rooftop into a crowded community. This kind of forced urban planning highlights the immense pressure on cities to accommodate more people and underscores the need for sustainable and organized urban development to address the challenges posed by rapid urbanization. The collapse of bike sharing in China. Bike-sharing companies in China initially introduced millions of bikes to cities, hoping to offer an eco-friendly and convenient transportation solution. However, the demand for bike-sharing services was far lower than expected, leading to a surplus of bikes. As a result, thousands of bicycles were left abandoned in random locations, cluttering streets and public spaces. The lack of proper parking infrastructure and management created a massive logistical nightmare, with bikes piling up and becoming an eyesore. This collapse of the bike-sharing model highlighted the challenges of urban planning and the need for sustainable, well-managed solutions for transportation in crowded cities. The abandoned city of Tianjin in China. Tianjin, located in China, is a replica of Paris, complete with iconic landmarks that mimic the charm of the French capital. The city was built to attract tourists, offering a familiar atmosphere with replicas of famous sites like the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe. However, despite its impressive architecture, Tianjin has almost no real residents, leaving the city eerily quiet and lifeless. The lack of a genuine community and the feeling of artificiality result in an unsettling experience for visitors, who often leave with a sense of emptiness, as the city fails to provide the authentic vibe it seeks to replicate. Whittier's extreme compact living. Whittier, Alaska, presents one of the most unique examples of extreme urban planning, where nearly all of its 200 residents live in a single 14-story building. This compact structure houses everything the community needs, including a police station, clinic, laundromat, and even a grocery store, making it a self-contained city. The building is designed to withstand the harsh Alaskan climate and offers a practical solution for people living in such an isolated and extreme environment. While the concept of compact living in Whittier is fascinating, it also highlights how urban planning can adapt to unique geographical and environmental challenges. Vertical forest in Milan. Milan's Vertical Forest is an innovative residential project aimed at addressing the environmental challenges posed by urbanization. This unique complex features over 900 trees and 11,000 plants distributed across its terraces, bringing nature into the heart of the city. The vertical forest not only enhances the aesthetic appeal of the urban landscape, but also serves as an ecological initiative to combat pollution, improve air quality, and promote biodiversity. By integrating greenery into high-rise buildings, the project represents a small but significant step toward reducing the environmental impact of urban living and creating a more sustainable future. As cities grow, the struggles of overcrowding, pollution, and lack of infrastructure become harder to ignore. While these urban hells reflect the consequences of rapid development, they also highlight the urgent need for sustainable solutions. The future of our cities depends on how we address these challenges, aiming for a balance between progress and the environment. Let's work together to turn these urban nightmares into thriving, livable spaces for all,